want to really be a problem to the neighborhood. I was really excited when the city council before, they said, we want to initiate meetings, and we're going to mediate it with Don Cook, and then the two sides can come together and you can work out your differences. I thought, that's great. I was really excited about that because I thought, this is a good chance that we can just really communicate. The only problem is no neighbors ever hardly came out. I think we had an average of maybe 4 neighbors, and the last couple, we only had two neighbors, and it was the same 2 neighbors, and the only reason why they came is to make sure that at least somebody came. And out of that, no issues came up. There was nothing other than fear. We're just afraid, and I don't think fear is the right thing. We're talking about people in the city of Sarnia, people that need residents. A number of years ago, we used to have a lot of psychiatric hospitals, and the government, in their wisdom or whatever, decided to close a lot of them and let people go on the street. And I think that there's an element of rightness with that, and there's an element that it's kind of makes things for a crazy place. The fact is we still have that. That is what we have in our city. And I feel that the more we help those people as far as getting a stable environment, the better off we all are. Not just them, but so ourselves too. So what we want to do is we want them just to feel like they're ordinary people, that they're wanted, that they're loved, and that we accept them for who they are. I think one of the best ways we can show love to those people is when we speak with them, just really listen to what they have to say, because they do have some wisdom. It's so easy for people just to write them off and say, you're nobody. That's why I find when I advocate for them with different officials, whether it's ODSP, Ontario Disability, or whether it's with the addiction unit or whatever, I find it really sad that they don't really get the respect that they really need and want.
George, can I?
Sure.
Some people, like if I'm typical of anyone, might ask, the first question they might say, well, I thought we just built something out on Confederation Street that was supposed to serve this purpose. Didn't that happen? Or comment on that.
Okay, I believe, and I think most people would believe that with the lodge being open is a direct result of River City starting our shelter, first of all. Because before that, the government said there is no need, we have no need for a shelter, and that's what the county kept saying. Then when we opened our doors, then they said, okay, I guess we do have a need. So then they did build the Shepherd's Lodge. The Shepherd's Lodge, we are glad it's there. We are not opposed to that. We think it's a good thing. It helps people that we can't help. For example, families, we can't take in families, we can't take in women. We don't have the physical capacity. But there's barriers that go with there. When you go to the Shepherd's Lodge, they're based on funding, and they're based on Ontario Works. So the clients that we get that don't necessarily want to go there, they will say, the first thing they say is, here's a script that you have to do, fill in your name, call this number, and tell them you want to be on Ontario Works. Whether they want to or not, that's what they have to do. I know one man, I said, because we always try to get people to Ontario Works too, because we think it's better for them. So I had one man, I said, you need to be on, you should really be on Ontario Works, because then you could have at least some stable income to help you. He said, I'm a database programmer. He said, I've just been out of work and down on my luck for 3 or 4 months, and I have a car. And they told me, if you sell your car, you can go on Ontario Works. And when you sell your car and use up all that money, then come and see us. He said, if I sell my car, I'm screwed. He says, I'll never be able to get around and go see the clients I need to do. There's a lot of people who don't want to be on Ontario Works. And I know that there would be a little bit of disagreement with that, but the truth is they need people to be on Ontario Works, and then anybody who qualifies, they make sure that they're on Ontario Works, because that's how they get their funding. So
how's their capacity? Where are they at?
The capacity right now, they're running, from my understanding, about 12, 13 people, and they can hold 25. So there is the capacity there for to take it, but not everybody wants to go. And then if we close down, the guys that we have will not go there, a lot of them. Maybe a few will, but a lot of them won't. They will sleep in somewhere else.
So you're saying if you're not willing to go on Ontario Works, you can't stay at the lodge? Is that correct? Or?
Yes. Now they would not agree with me in that. Like, this is my experience, okay? Yeah. They have what they call 8 unfunded beds, which means they have room for 8 people who are not on Ontario Works. Mm-hmm. However, we are getting guys coming to us, and those guys are saying, I can't stay there. And also, I'll say, we had one guy that was staying with us, and then he went there, and it was great. 2 weeks later, he came back, and I said, how come you're back? He said, well, they have a 30-day policy. Another person had a fight with it because as soon as you get there, what they say is, okay, you're homeless, you can stay here, but you got to start looking for shelter. So here you go. Here's a list, and here's a script, and you have to fill out all these things, so you have to do at least 8 searches, you gotta call up 8 landlords and say, I'm looking for a place for myself, and then they can do that. Now I'm not against that, but you just can't do that for everybody. You just can't do a carte blank, everybody's just gotta start looking for it, because there's a lot of issues that people gotta deal with before they get stable housing. Housing might not be their first issue.
Yeah, I listened to the council meeting, and I also heard something like, if you go to the lodge and based on their criteria and whatever and so on, they end up sending somebody to a hotel. So what gives? So what was the reason for sending that person to a hotel? What happened to? Why didn't he not qualify to stay at the lodge?
Yeah, that person is with us.
Okay.
And that person is because he has a background from 10 years ago where he has had some kind of abuse with women, right? Like he had domestic abuse. So he got charged for having a domestic assault with a woman, and that's because that shelter can have women. Anybody with any kind of record like that, they can't have.
So you answered the question that the lodge is not the answer to everybody.
The lodge is not the answer for everybody, and we're not the answer for everybody either.
No.
If you take River City and the lodge, there are still people who can't fit, who fall through the cracks. We're not getting everybody.
I wanted to ask you again about another question that has to do with disabilities. You have an adult male who has real learning disabilities, and you can tell him something 14 times and you won't necessarily understand what you're saying, or send him off looking for a place to live or whatever with a list. You can give him 5 lists if you want to. Now, does the Mental Health Association work though with those people? Do they step in and work with the lodge or with you people and try to help them? Or is it a matter of, there's different territorial concerns there?
No, I think that the Canadian Mental Health is a good association. They're overtaxed, but they're good, and they're very helpful. We do try to work with them, and we do work with them. And what I find is we also have a component where we actually have houses that we put people in, so we don't just keep everybody at River City. So we try to migrate them into what we call transitional housing. So I have one individual right now that I'm thinking of who is on ODSP, and he's with Canadian Mental Health. And between ODSP doesn't really help that way.
People won't know what ODSP is.
Ontario Disability.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, support program, that's what it stands for. And we have if you need social assistance in this province, there are 2 levels. One is called OW, Ontario Works, one's called ODSP. Ontario Works is basically what most of us old timers will think of welfare. And that is about $360 for shelter, $208 to live on. So that's about $570. ODSP, you get about $1,100. To be on ODSP, you have to be disabled, either mentally or physically. So everybody on ODSP is disabled. Everybody on OW is not. But you cannot live on $560. That is one of the problems. It's just really, really, who can find shelter for $360?
So do you guys help people find those skills for job interview, resumes, find jobs, to get involved with things, clothes, stuff like that as well? Or do you guys just help shelter them until they get on to the next place?
Yes and no. We are mostly a bed, but there's a lot of guys, we're not like, hey, we're glad to have you, we're going to fix you. We're not trying to fix everybody, all right? We're not trying to say, hey, you know what, you're here, you got a problem, you need our help, here's the list, you do this, you do that, and you have to go see this, you have to see that. Like,